I thought I'd covered everything there was about Disney's new Skyliner system, and then I found this. Turns out, this isn't the first gondola system at Disney. Just under a year after Disneyland Park opened in Anaheim, a new attraction appeared, the Skyway. Walt Disney made a deal with the Swiss manufacturer Von Roll to build their first VR 101 gondola system in America. Von Roll had been a staple of ski mountains all over Europe, and this was their chance to bring the VR 101 to America. Opening on June 23, 1956 as a B-ticket attractions, guests would load into two-person buckets at either Fantasyland or Tomorrowland. Well, if you wanted to ride back, well, that would cost you another B-ticket. The 3.5-minute flight was the best way to see Disneyland from overhead. That was until Walt, who was on vacation in Switzerland, sent a photo back to Imagineering with the note, "Build this." While they looked down at the photo of the Matterhorn. Now, Imagineers never say they can't do something, but how does one build the Matterhorn? Well, the Imagineers could figure that out. The big problem was, where does one put the Matterhorn in a park with limited acreage? Well, during the construction of the park, dirt from the excavation of Sleeping Beauty's castle moat was piled in an area between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. And when the park opened, the area was dubbed Holiday Hill. That big mound of dirt would make a nice base for the Matterhorn. But unfortunately, the Skyway, well, it went right over the top of Holiday Hill. And Walt loved the Skyway. Well, they had to build it, and they couldn't do away with the Skyway, so in true Imagineer tradition, make it work, they built around it. So the decision was made to have the Skyway go right through the middle of the two-track roller coaster. So from late 1957 until June of 1959, the Skyway remained closed as construction on several new attractions continued. June 14th saw the first major expansion of the park premiere. Not only did the Matterhorn open, but so did the submarine voyage, the motorboat cruise, and the brand new monorail. Art Linkletter again served as MC of the second live Disney telecast. Vice President of the United States Richard M. Nixon and his family were also on hand to help usher in the new attractions. But now that the Skyway had been plussed by its trip through the Matterhorn, the B tickets were slowly coming to an end. The beginning of 1960 season saw the Skyway bumped past C and becoming a D ticket attraction. Now the ride from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland, or Tomorrowland to Fantasyland, would set you back 35 cents instead of the old 25 cents. Now the next part of our story takes us from Disneyland in Anaheim, California, all the way to New York City, and the 1964 New York World's Fair. While Disney was busy opening not one or two, but 4 major attractions at the World's Fair, the Von Roll Company opened their Swiss Skyride over the World's Fair. The Swiss Skyride's larger capacity gondolas inspired my favorite Imagineer, Bob Gurr, to head over to his drawing board. He was able to come up with a 4-person gondola to replace the 2-seater Sky Bucket, removing the center pole while not adding any weight to the attraction. Let's face it, the guy's a genius. The World's Fair Swiss Skyride ran on towers up to 112 feet tall. 2,000-foot-long cable delivering a ride 5 minutes long. Walt had meant his Skyway to be a futuristic mode of transportation. Von Roll, on the other hand, had set out to see how many theme parks and zoos they could place the system in. Famous zoos like in the Bronx and San Diego. Parks like Cedar Point and SeaWorld, also in San Diego, now all had Von Roll systems. Despite this, while planning the Florida project, there was no doubt that it would include a Skyway. And on October 1st, 1971, Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom opened with the Von Roll VR 101 running from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland and back. Just like its brother in Disneyland, it required a D ticket in each direction. Now what made this system different was a 90-degree turn over top of the Tomorrowland Speedway. While operating it, a cast member was stationed on the turn platform to wave at guests and make sure there were no problems. Gondolas would descend almost to ground level before turning towards the destination station. The system would serve the guests of Walt Disney World for the next couple of decades. Later, in 1974, Great Adventure Park opened in Jackson, New Jersey. They were able to buy the old New York World's Fair Von Roll system that had been sitting packed up and waiting to cross the Canadian border for years. Also included were towers for the old system from Freedomland theme park in the Bronx. The Skyride cars served at Great Adventure until the early 1990s when they were replaced with a newer fleet, and the park got a new name. It was now Six Flags Great Adventure. But the original station drive and tension bases still operate to this day, more than 55 years after the New York World's Fair ended. Now, I never went to Freedomland as a kid, but I did go to Great Adventure a couple of times in my teen years. I can't recall riding the Von Roll Skyway, but maybe I did. I guess age does that to you. 1981 saw an end to the ticket books at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, switching to an all-inclusive entrance fee of $12 for either park. So the cost of the Skyway both ways was now included in the price of admission. During the Fantasyland renovation at Disneyland in the early 1980s, the Skyway made only round trips from Tomorrowland. Then the accident started. At Walt Disney World, May 23, 1982, a 20-year-old worker was standing near the ledge at the Fantasyland station when the Skyway started up. She grabbed onto a seat and traveled about 100 feet before a staff member stopped the ride. Some visitors climbed up onto the roof of a nearby building but couldn't reach her. She fell 15 feet to the roof, slid off, and dropped another 20 feet to the ground. She injured her back, but she survived. The accident at Disney World didn't turn Disney against the Skyway. As a matter of fact, April 15, 1983, Tokyo Disneyland opened with its own Skyway, the Von Roll Type 102. A ride lasted just 2.5 minutes. Unlike its brothers in America, Tokyo Skyway featured enclosed gondolas, probably because of the weather, but also solved the problem of guests dropping items on other guests below. Yet another later speculation of why the Skyway closed, but I'm getting ahead of myself. My first visit to Walt Disney World came in March of 1987. I can vividly remember standing on the Tomorrowland platform and loading in. I don't remember taking a ride back from Fantasyland, though. In 1994 at Disneyland, a local man decided to go after Disney's money. On Sunday, April 17th, Randall Charles fell 20 feet and landed in a tree near the Alice in Wonderland attraction. He sued Disney. Later it was established that Charles had jumped and didn't actually fall from the Skyway, and his lawsuit was dropped. This cash grab may have signaled the end of the line for the Skyway. An article written by Jerry Hirsch in the November 5th Orange County Register reported, after ferrying 150 million passengers between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland over the past 38 years, Disneyland's Skyway will make its last trip Wednesday. Disney officials said the Skyway's safety had never been a problem and its closure was simply a matter of popularity and Disney's workforce needs. According to Scott Swain, a park spokesman, demand for the ride had fallen off and the 10 workers who staff it will be needed to tend to the Indiana Jones ride scheduled to open in February. He said, as people have grown up and there are memories of the Skyway, there will be a new generation that will grow up and have memories of Indiana Jones. 4 days later, on November 9th, 1994, Disneyland Skyway closed for good. It was the end of an era, a ride Walt had ridden, had loved, had closed. The Skyway at Walt Disney World, however, continued its trips from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland and back. Then in 1995, something interesting occurred that changed some ride closing opinions. Blizzard Beach Water Park opened at Walt Disney World. Okay, so that's not the interesting part. What was interesting was that it included a Von Roll chairlift at the summit of Mount Gushmore. So apparently the closing of Disneyland Skyway had nothing to do with the system safety if they included another Von Roll system in their park. The chairlift, which is still in operation, carries up to 3 guests on a one-way trip to the top where they can choose which water slide to get back down. Either Summit Plummet, Slusher Gusher, or Teamboat Springs. There is one handicap-accessible gondola which can take a single wheelchair-using guest on a round trip, up and down the mountain. I've never actually ridden the chairlift or the gondola, so if you have, let me know in the comments below. In 1996, the aerial tramway and cableway division of Von Roll Seilbahn AG was sold to Austrian manufacturer Doppelmayr. Now all of Disney's Von Roll systems were all part of the Doppelmayr family. The death bell tolled for Disneyland Tokyo on November 3rd of 1998, leaving the Walt Disney World system as the last surviving Disney Skyway. But how much longer would it last? Then, in February of 1999, a custodian cast member, Raymond Barlow, was cleaning one of the platforms when the Skyway started up unexpectedly. Barlow was sweeping off a narrow platform that was inaccessible to guests after the 9 a.m. opening. Ride operators who were unaware of his location started to ride. Barlow, seeing the gondola approach, grabbed on and tried to get inside. He fell about 40 feet into a flower bed and died. 9 months later, Walt Disney World closed its Skyway. Over the years since, Disney has slowly removed almost all traces of the popular attraction. In the summer of 2009, the second level of Walt Disney World's Tomorrowland station was removed during the Space Mountain refurbishment. They kept the lower level as restrooms. In 2011, their Fantasyland station was torn down to make way for additional stroller parking and some new restrooms over there. Walt Disney World now only had the restrooms at Tomorrowland station to prove that the Skyway ever even existed. A typical Disney weenie was added to the Matterhorn bobsleds as a tribute to the Skyway during the 2015 refurbishment. Several wrecked Skyway buckets and Matterhorn bobsled vehicles were added just past the top of the lift hill, torn to shreds and abandoned by the attraction's abominable snowman. Disneyland's Fantasyland station remained, however, hidden inside the ever-increasing overgrown foliage. And with the construction of the new Star Wars Galaxy's Edge finally encroaching on the old chalet-style station, on May 11, 2016, the City of Anaheim approved a permit for the Walt Disney World Company for the demolition of a 5,132 square foot Skyway building number 7301. Just over a month later, on June 14th, after park closing, the old Fantasyland station was demolished. The only remaining pieces of the Skyway showed up in Disney stores. One gondola in Disneyland 2000, and another at Walt Disney World's Disney Style store in the Disney Springs shopping district. Then, almost 30 years after the closing of its last Skyway, Disney announced its return to the air. Walt Disney World would be adding a new gondola system to its transportation system. They went with Von Roll's successor, Doppelmayr. A new Disney Skyway, the Skyliner, connects the resorts at the Art of Animation, Pop Century, and Caribbean Beach, as well as the new Riviera Beach, with other lines to Hollywood Studios and the International Gateway entrance to Epcot. Looks like the old Skyway will live again in a new coat. Emmy's going to check for your likes and comments. It's her second favorite thing. I hope you enjoyed this video too, and then choose to give it a big Yahoo thumbs up. That lets me know I've got something to count at the end of the day. And if you do like this video, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? I make them all the time. All you have to do is click on that red subscribe button down below. And remember, when you do subscribe, don't forget to click on that bell icon. That way you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.